joining us this Friday. Couldn't do this yesterday because Asheebo had to go to a North Carolina High School Athletic Association regional meeting. He'll have a little bit of information on that later on in our live stream. I just need to make sure all our connections are good and ready to go before we go live. All right, our YouTube channel is working, our Facebook channel is working, and our X channel is working. So we are all good to go. Oh, let me just click on this one again. Make sure we're all set. All right, folks, Gene Galin here with the Chatham Journal and Asheebo Rojas of the Chatham News and Record. Hey, thanks for joining us this Friday instead of Thursday. Asheebo had to go to a North Carolina cover a North Carolina High School Athletic Association regional meeting. He'll have some information on that. Later on in this live stream, we'll get into our football. You can see the agenda right there. We'll talk about tonight's game. There's only one. There's a bye week for all the schools except for JM. We'll talk again about power rankings. It was a hard week last Friday. And then, of course, volleyball updates, high school soccer updates. We're going to talk about flag football. Asheebo's got an article about that in his paper this week. That came out yesterday, tennis and track and field. And I'm going to do a quick mention that there is a new skate park in Pittsboro that is now open. And, of course, we'll get into Asheebo's stories in the Chatham News and Record. You can pick that up at your favorite newsstand. And, of course, everyone's favorite every week, Asheebo's Athlete of the Week. All right, folks, so we are ready to go. And let me get rid of this screen and bring up Asheebo. All right, Asheebo, let's start off with the football games from last Friday, and it was not a good weekend, but let's go at it and let folks know what happened last Friday.
Yeah, like I said, the first time this season, I think we had all four teams lose in the same Friday, which usually last year that may have happened a couple times, but this year, first time, especially with JM being undefeated to start the year. But starting with Northmore and Seaforth, that one, Northmore beat Seaforth 37-20. I predicted Seaforth was going to come out here and win this game. Because like I said, and like we talked about all year, Seaforth has the depth, they have the talent. And I guess Friday night, it just couldn't come together. And I watched this film. We knew Northmore was going to be really tricky to defend on offense. They have a little bit of an older team, more seniors this season that have been in the system for a while. And they made it pretty hard to stop so far this season. And that's what it was. In the run game, Northmore rushed for 261 yards. And on the other end, Seaforth only rushed for 38 yards, which has been a struggle for them all season. And on the Northmore side, it was Brady Atkinson, the quarterback. He had 64 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. And they had the senior, Joseph Dunn. He had a team high 93 yards on the ground. And Micah Morrison scored a touchdown in that game for Northmore as well. So just a rushing attack by committee for them. And it was tied at 6-6 at the end of the first quarter there. Seaforth had some decent stops in the beginning there, but just some miscues led to a disastrous second quarter. Ended up being down 27-6 at halftime. They had a block punt that was returned for a touchdown. Then another mishandled snap that set up another easy Northmore score. And then with 2 seconds left in the first half, Northmore, they got an interception, capitalized on that with another touchdown as well. So, yeah, just a disastrous second quarter led to the downfall there for the Hawks. And, yeah, they go into their bye with a 1-4 record. And now, Gene, were you kind of surprised by that result for Friday night for Seaforth?
Actually, I was. You did a good job evaluating last week as to what we could expect on Friday. And, I was surprised. I did not – if they were going to lose, I didn't expect them to lose by 17 points. So I would agree with you definitely there. You don't have to worry about them this Friday because they have a bye week, and that might be a good time to have a bye week. All right, what's the next game you got covered?
Yeah, next game we had North Story beating Northwood 42-15, and Northwood just went up against another pretty good team here in North Surrey. They had some players that made some big plays, specifically Fisher Leftwich, the receiver. He had 5 catches for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns, both in the first half. And he also scored on a 96-yard kickoff return late in the second quarter to pretty much pull that game away for North Surrey, take a 21-3 lead there. And Zamari Sweatman, the running back there at North Surrey, he also contributed 105 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns on 23 carries. And he also put the game put the game more away than it already was, 23-9 at halftime. Then he comes out in the early in the third quarter and scores a touchdown there. So just a tough night for Northwood defensively and offensively as well. It's been tough for them without Robert Tripp in the backfield. This option they have in the run game that they just don't have anymore. So Leo Mortimer had to carry that load, and he broke through for a touchdown late in the game. Roger Torres also scored one, but just not enough there to compete with North Surrey. And they also go into the bye with a 1-4 record. And then going into the next game this week, from last week, we had North Stokes edging Chatham Central 27-26. This game, Chatham Central was up late, and they had a defensive breakdown on North Stokes' last possession there late in the fourth quarter, led to a North Stokes touchdown, and they just couldn't come back and score on their last possession. Ended up losing that one by 1 point. Looking at the stats, though, Chatham Central, some pretty good numbers offensively. Brooks Albright, 23 completions for 231 yards through the air, 4 passing touchdowns, and he also rushed for 115 yards. And then you had Gavin Williams, a receiver. He caught 7 passes for 102 yards and 2 scores. But like we said, they just couldn't get enough stops defensively, especially late in the game, to close out that one and get their second win. So they're also going to go into the bye 1-4. They haven't won since week 1, of course, but they've been they're 1-2 now in games decided by 1 possession. So they've been in a lot of tight games this year, in situations where they've been up and just couldn't close out, like we said, at the end and letting teams come back. So like we said, we've seen better football from Chatham Central this season compared to seasons in the past, but now it's just about finishing these games and putting some wins and in the win column. And hopefully they can do that with their conference, which I think there's still some winnable games there for Chatham Central coming up after the bye week. And then the final game that me and Gene were at, he took some pictures there in the first half, and I stayed for the whole game. Jordan Matthews took their first loss of the season to Providence Grove. And in this game, just from what I remember, Providence Grove really dominated the trenches, the offensive line and defensive line, especially defensive line. They really rattled Kamari Hadley in the backfield and forced him to scramble. They eliminated the run game with Jakari Blue as well. And it was just really hard for Jordan Matthews to get anything going after their first possession offensively. And then defensively, had a really hard time stopping Providence Grove running back Nick Strawn. He put together some strong runs early in that first half. And even though it was tight, it was a tight first half for the most part, like 14-8 until the last possession, just a few seconds left in the second quarter. Providence Grove got a fumble recovery, took it down on the next drive, scored a late first half score, and that pretty much gave them the game, where in the second half they came out, just once again, just kept it rolling in the run game and pulled away there for a 47-8 win. So, yeah, Gene, did you have anything to say about the JM game, considering you were there and saw the first half?
Yeah, I was there. I just locked up, I think. Oh, there we go. I was there for the first half because I had to run over and shoot the rodeo that took place at Silk Cove. Got some good video clips over there. I was kind of surprised because I thought JM was going to do better, but you're right. They got run over, and it was kind of unexpected for me. But hey, I'm just the guy who takes pictures. But they're playing tonight, and their record is what? After that game, they're 4-1, and Providence Grove is 3-2. So I thought it was going to be a closer game. 47-8 just took me by surprise. And you, like you said, you stayed there for the whole half. Actually, PJ was out there taking pictures too because one of the papers that North State Journal owns covers Providence Grove and Asheebo stories, not only in this week's Chatham News and Record, but also in the paper that covers the Providence Grove School. So Asheebo's multitasking out there. So yeah, I was surprised by it. And after 4 losses for all 4 teams, I guess we can go into the power rankings. And my guess is the power rankings haven't changed from last week. Am I correct?
Yep, you're correct. They're exactly the same with Jordan Matthews still at the 1 spot, Seaford following them at 2, Northwood at 3, and Chatham Central at 4. It's going to get interesting in the next couple of weeks now that teams are starting to get into conference play once they get out of these bye weeks. Of course, Jordan Matthews has one more non-conference game tonight. But we're going to see another county-on-county game in a couple of weeks with Jordan Matthews and Northwood. So that will shake up some power rankings as well. Seaford, we'll see how they can do in their conference, which, like I said in the beginning of the season, and that's been kind of the feeling that in this conference, they might have just a little bit of an advantage considering what other teams have done early on this season. So we'll see how that goes for them. And then just talking about Jordan Matthews tonight against American Leadership Academy Johnston, the Patriots there, 3-2 on the season. Looking at their schedule, they played not the best competition, kind of like Jordan Matthews early in the year. So they started off, I think, 3-0 with some wins, but last 2 games took some hard losses to some better competition. So they're going to be looking to bounce back. Stop a 2-game losing streak. Jordan Matthews is going to also look to bounce back from last week's performance as well. And I think we're going to see a little bit of a similar type of game coming into this one that we saw in the first half of Providence Grove and expected to keep up throughout the whole game. But for American Leadership Academy, like you said, that their offense is heavily reliant on the run game. Their running back, Anthony Jimenez, he's been a workhorse this season, 951 yards and 12 touchdowns in the first 5 games of the season. He's averaging 9.7 yards per carry. So I think Jordan Matthews, they're after last week where they had a running back that they couldn't stop, they're going to be really focused on tackling and making sure they can get the guy on the ground tonight as well. And but defensively, stopping the run has been a struggle for American Leadership Academy. They gave up 373 yards on Friday, 205 yards in the loss against Wake Prep. And that's the thing. They just have to, I think with Jordan Matthews here, they just have to play better than what they did on the offensive line and create those holes for Jakari Blue. Because I think if you get Blue going, then that opens it up for Kamari Hadley to not only do it with his arm, but also do it with his legs when needed. So, yeah, I think that's the key there is better offensive line play for Jordan Matthews, but also, too, just limiting penalties. And that was something I forgot to mention from the Providence Grove game is that penalties really hurt Jordan Matthews, especially in that first half, because they had another drive late in that second quarter where they could have tied the game or possibly taken the lead. They were down at the 20. They got a pass interference to take them down, I think, within the 10. But back-to-back penalties backed them up again. They had another unfortunate, I think, loss of yards with some tackles for loss there on that drive. So if they could just limit the penalties and those mistakes, as well as improve on offensive line, I think Jordan Matthews comes out with a bounce back win. I'm predicting they are going to win this game, considering it's homecoming tonight. And it's probably going to be a rainy game, so we're probably going to see both teams having to hand the ball off anyway. And like I said, when it comes to the speed of Hadley and the power of Blue, if they can get both of those guys going, I think they'll be successful. So I got Jordan Matthews winning this one 34-21. Like I said, I think it's going to be probably a closer game here in that first half. And then I think Jordan Matthews is going to pull away there in the second half.
Yeah, I think your assessment's pretty good. And it's interesting because Coach Kermit, I think, is going to have him ready for this because you and I had the opportunity to talk with former JM Coach Phillips and Terrence Newby, who was Kermit's classmate and schoolmate back in the day when they both played on the basketball and football teams. And one of the things Terrence said is Coach Kermit's lives and breathes football. So I think he'll get them on track. Unfortunately, as you said, there's probably going to be rain. That's probably not going to, I don't think it's supposed to be heavy rain. Actually just popped up on my screen. However, unfortunately, it's homecoming. And I feel for the homecoming folks that are going to be participating tonight, especially the young ladies, because a lot of them wear heels, and hopefully the field is not so soggy. And I've covered some of these games where their heels will be sinking into the turf. So, ladies, gentlemen, I just hope the rain is not that bad. I got a quick question for you. You mentioned the fact that the teams are going to be starting getting into conference play. Um, and I think the playoff system for this year, the way teams get in is a little bit different. So, is how I do in conference going to weigh more than how I did in non-conference games going into evaluation for whether I make the state playoffs or not?
Not really. This year, playoff contention is all based on RPI, straight RPI. So conference champions, you just get the title of champion, but it does not give you, I guess, a higher seed or preferential seed when they do create the brackets later on after the regular season. So, of course, doing well in your conference does matter because you have to win games to increase your RPI. But that's really all it's judged by is how your RPI is at the end of the season. So that does count your non-conference, especially the type of competition you played in, your non-conference schedule, and how you did there. So yeah, conference play, like we said, it's just of course, playing to win to improve that RPI, but it also would be nice just to have that conference title to have, even though it doesn't help you in your playoff seeding.
All right. Oh, the other thing I want to say, I should have said this at the very beginning. I want to thank folks for watching. Last week, Asheebo and I, this live stream went over 4,000 views. So we thank you very much. And actually, I see right now we've got a bunch of folks watching. It looks like a dozen folks. Bill and Dion and Melody Roberts is watching, and Cliff Brooks and several other folks. Zeus is watching. Lou, Mary's watching. So thank you all for watching. Tobias, man, you are watching. I know he's got a bye week. Tobias is the assistant coach over at C4. Oh, and the other thing is, for folks who don't know, Tobias is gonna have another baby coming up soon, sometime in November. So Tobias, it's great to see Tobias doing well because I remember shooting him when he was both a student and player at Northwood as well as NC State, and he had some. I think one of his best games was against Clemson, and he can correct me if I am wrong. But Tobias, thanks so much for watching, and I think Sheba and I have been talking about maybe getting sitting down and spending a little bit of time and doing a video with Tobias later on. So as always, we want to thank you folks for watching. And the other thing that we find is we got a lot of younger folks watching because I'm going to be, if Asheebo's mom's watching, Asheebo's doing a great job covering sports here in Chatham County. So, because I know Asheebo's mom, if she doesn't watch live, she watches afterward just to make sure things are going the way they should be. All right. So we've done with football for right now, but there's other sports going on. So let's talk about, let's see, I've got here volleyball and soccer. So what's going on in volleyball and soccer?
Yeah, so volleyball, we're getting close to the end of the regular season here in volleyball. The season has gone by pretty fast, but here we got C4 still battling with Cedar Ridge for that top spot in the conference. But Cedar Ridge got the best of them again this season with a 3-1 win earlier this week. All 4 sets were decided by single digits. It was a really close game, but Cedar Ridge is a really good team, and of course C4 is still down Allie Forbes. And trying to overcome her absence in this season. So they bounced back, the Hawks, with a win over Durham School of Arts 3-0 later this week. And in that one, Naomi Stevenson, who's been holding it down in Forbes' absence, she had 12 kills in that game. And they dominated Durham School of the Arts. I think none of those sets were decided by single digits, all double digits. And I don't think Durham School of the Arts even reached 10 points in any of those sets. So pretty dominant win for them. And then other schools, doing good in volleyball this year. Woods Charter, 11 straight win with a 3-0 win over Ascend Leadership earlier this week. So they're continuing to roll in their conference and in their schedule as well. We have Chatham Central, who's been doing pretty good in conference play, 6-2, third place there. They lost a tough one, a close one to Northmore, 3-2 earlier this week, but they bounced back with a 3-0 win over College Prep and Leadership. I think it might have been last night. I think that game was last night. And then we have Jordan Matthews, Northwood, Chatham Charter, struggling a little bit this year, especially here at the end of the season. Northwood lost to Uwharrie Charter 3-0, and Eastern Randolph in straight sets. You have Jordan Matthews also losing to Eastern Randolph in straight sets, losing a close one to Northmore 3-2. And then we had Chatham Charter beating Central Carolina Academy 3-0 earlier this week. And in that one, Summer Blanton led the way with 9 kills. But Clever Garden School got the best of Chatham Charter later in the week with a 3-1 win. I think that was last night as well. So that's just a recap of volleyball. Like we said, I think teams have about 4 or 5 games left in the schedule. So by the time next week comes around, we'll talk more about RPI, what teams are looking at as far as the playoff picture and things like that. Because, of course, we'll have the conference tournaments coming up pretty soon. And then we'll be getting it starting probably our first set of fall sports playoffs next month.
Yeah, volleyball is getting close to playoff season. I went to see the pictures at the Northwood versus Uwharrie game. Northwood lost that 1-3-0. Uwharrie's just got a stronger team, so they won that one. Asheebo and I will be at the Seaforth game on Monday, and again, you need to follow. Let me post this up here. You need to follow Asheebo on X because Asheebo R38. Because one of the things you'll find that if you can't make it out to the game on Monday, that you will be able to follow on X and see Asheebo. He does. He'll give you updates after each set, and he'll also include later on a follow up when he stands up and talks with either the coaches or some of the players after the game. So again, reminder. Look, folks say you can't get enough sports information. Asheebo can get you enough sports information. Whether you follow us here on the live stream, you follow him in the newspaper, or you follow him on X. So definitely keep an eye on Asheebo for what you want to know about sports here in Chatham County. All right, let's get into soccer. You and I were at a soccer game, and then there's another soccer game coming up in a couple of weeks that we're probably going to be both at as well. So why don't you give us the rundown of what's going on in Chatham County High School soccer?
Yeah, just start with the game that we were at Wednesday night with Seaforth and Northwood, rematch of the 1-1 tie earlier in the year. Well, earlier this month, actually. And, yeah, this one ended in a 0-0 tie. No scores here. We had one potential score late in the first half. It was Northwood had scored off of it looked like an own goal for Seaforth. It was a pass to the penalty box. That was lightly tapped by Seaforth's goalie, and it went through his hands, but they called it back for goalie interference. They had said the Northwood player had ran into the goalie and impeded his ability to defend the ball there. But just a really tight game. Once again, I mean, this year in the past 4 times they've met, I think we've had 3 ties in this matchup between Seaforth and Northwood. So the boys really get after it when they see each other on the pitch. And, of course, like the first meeting, we saw some action at the end where both teams were trying to scramble and get a late game goal. Northwood had a good one with Johnny Santiago getting one-on-one. I think Ryan Dibb was in defense and right behind him, but he caught up, kicked the ball out, and forced the shot. Actually, he forced a shot to go right at the goal. And then just about 2 minutes later after that, Ryan Dibb got an opportunity to try to score a buzzer beater goal. It was like 10 seconds left. Seaforth got the ball all the way down in the penalty box. And Northwood's goalie, Gavin, let me make sure I get his name right. Calvin Britt, who had a really good game for Northwood in that game. He came up, saved that goal one-on-one with Ryan Dibb, and kicked it out of the way and prevented a score from Seaforth to end that 1-0. So, yeah, just a tight battle. I think watching that game, and I talked to Northwood's coach, Ascari Arias, after that one, and I agree with him. I mean, I think Northwood controlled most of that game, especially in the first half. They just had a lot of opportunities that just didn't go in. They took a lot of shots. They were on the attack for most of that game, but just couldn't get a score to go. So I think that's my biggest takeaway from that game. Gene, you had anything from that game that you saw?
Yeah, I'm glad you talked to the coach afterwards because I saw that same thing for the first half where Northwood seemed to be the more aggressive team, but the Seaforth goalie did a good job stopping a lot of those attempts. So congratulations on that, and 0-0. So um, before we go into talking about girls flag football, the big one that you and I were talking about before we started this live stream is there's a game coming up between two Chatham County schools that we're both looking forward to, and that game is between whom?
Oh, you're talking about soccer?
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. So
Jordan Matthews and Northwood. Yep, we're playing Wednesday. It's going to be at Northwood. Big game because it's still a conference game. It's going to be a in-county matchup. But I think with Northwood, pretty good start to the season, 5 wins for the Chargers, a couple of ties in there. They've been playing some really good soccer, especially with the how young their team is. Like we said, Calvin Britt, their goalie, he's a sophomore. John Santiago, who's been a leader on the offense, he's only a freshman. So we'll see how they can stack up against Jordan Matthews, a team we saw earlier in the year. And of course, like all of Paul Cardro's teams, they're going to come with speed. They're going to really be on the attack. And try to just wear you down with how fast they can get down the field and how well they can defend. So we'll see how that game will work out. Like you said, I think both teams have been playing really good to start the year. Jordan Matthews, they did lose their first game since August 25th last week to Asheboro 5-0. And that one, they just had no answer for Asheboro's Osmar Martinez, who had 3 goals in that game. But they bounced back and won 4-0 over Southern Lee. So Jordan Matthews, I mean, they responded well to their downfalls this season. They went on another one of those runs midway through the year where they just kind of been dominating some opponents, not giving up a lot of goals there, a lot of shutouts for them. So, like we said, we'll see if they can keep that up against Northwood and once they get deeper into conference play next week. The other scores, too, in soccer, we had Durham School of the Arts beating Seaforth 3-1. And then Woods Charter, who's also having a really good start to the year, one of the best starts in quite some time. They got an 8-0 win over Central Carolina Academy. And then they went up against Clever Garden School, number 1 in their conference, and Central Tar Heel 1A conference. And they fell in that one 2-1, but they're going to see Clever Garden School again this season. And that should be another good matchup between the 1 and 2 teams in that conference. And then Chatham Charter, 2 tough losses with Southern Wake Academy, losing that one 3-2. And then they lost to River Mill 6-3 also in this week. So, yeah, that's just a quick recap of what we had in boys soccer this week.
all right, I'm going to put this up because Asheebo and I went to this. Actually, they had a flag football thing going on in Siler City, but we'll talk about that once we get to the news stories. Girls flag football had its first 2 games. We were out there last Wednesday. Asheebo, he's also got the story. This is the story that's in the paper, so you need to pick up the paper and read about it. But what's your rundown as to girls flag football going on? And also, you had mentioned before we started the live stream that it came up in the regional North Carolina High School Athletic Association meeting yesterday. So what's the scoop on girls flag football here in Chatham County and in the state?
Yeah, so it's here. The girls are playing. I think they played their second set of games on Monday, and I haven't yet gotten the scores for that. But we'll put those in our roundup. We'll start adding those to our roundups for the paper as well, and I'll get those. You can read about those next Thursday. But they'll be playing every Wednesday after this week. Of course, they had to play on Monday, but they'll be playing every Wednesday, I think, until October 29th is when they'll have their playoff and end of season tournament. But it's here. Like we said, we talked about those first games last week with Jordan Matthews and Seaforth having that wild finish and Seaforth winning that one. I think that first night, all the local teams won a game and they all lost one. So they're just continuing to get better. And Yeah, it came up with Commissioner Q Tucker in yesterday's meeting and all the meetings they did for the past 2 weeks. But of course, they've formed a committee, and they're in the process of now figuring out, when they're going to play, the official rules, the schedules and things like that, how they're going to do it. And so they're hoping they're hoping they can have a official vote on it, or make a decision on it by at least next spring, is what Commissioner Tucker said. So we'll see if they can get something done before next season and maybe have it ready as a sanctioned sport for the 26-27 season. But it's looking like spring will be when we find more about that. So, of course, the sport is growing here in the state. Of course, like we said, it's here in Chatham County now, and I think they're if they're not there already, they're pretty close to that threshold. I think of 25% participating schools in order to have a sanctioned state championship event with the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. So, yeah, I mean, all signs are pointing towards it will be sanctioned pretty soon, and we'll just see. It's just a matter of when, and also when the girls can play the season, because we see now here in Chatham they're playing in the fall, but that might create some challenges for some girls that also play volleyball and want to play flag football, that also play tennis, and even basketball players that have to get started with early practices and camps late in October, and start having to focus in on basketball as well. So we'll see just when they decide, when they do sanction it, when the season will be.
Yeah, it sounds like your feelings the same as mine. I think it will get sanctioned. I know when I was out there on Wednesday with you, that it was fun. There were a lot of smiles on their faces. A bunch of athletic girls playing the game. I think basically, yes, they have to learn the plays and the strategies, but overall, very enthusiastic. I think none of the Chatham County schools had a problem getting to the 20 players that they could have on the team. So that was good. And as Asheebo said, oh yeah, they play half field, so they that's why you got two games going on one time. And I think there's going to be an opportunity coming up here at Northwood and also at JM where you'll see the teams again. So you're looking for something local, a little bit different. Definitely worth checking them out. Asheebo and I will probably be at both of those sets of games. Because it's a great opportunity to see three Chatham County schools play at the same evening. All right, so we've got that taken care of. Let's talk about what else we got here. Oh, tennis and track and field. What's going on with those?
Yeah, and tennis didn't have many scores this week. I think we had some games get postponed, but just a few games did get played. We had Durham School of the Arts beating C4 7-2. Chatham Charter, of course, getting back in the win column with a 9-0 win over Chatham Central, and South Davidson also beat Chatham Central 9-0 this week. And yeah, just like volleyball, girls tennis is coming down to the end of the regular season, so they'll have conference tournaments coming up in a week or two, and they'll get their playoffs started as well. So yeah, that's just a quick update on tennis. Track and field, like I said, there's a lot of things going on in track and field that I can't say it all at once here. So we have some stuff in the roundups where you can read about the biggest races or the best performances from our local runners as they're starting to get more and more meets out of the way this season. And I'm sure, yeah, later in October, they'll also get started with their postseason as well.
All right, so that wraps the primary sports up. Just also wanted to kick in that I went to the ribbon cutting on Saturday. There is a new skate park here in Pittsburgh. You can go check it out. It's open to skateboarders, not open to scooter riders or bicyclists, but you can check it out. It's been a project that's been planned for I think about 14 years, and it finally came to, I'm going to use the word fruition. Finally came through fruition this Saturday. A lot of the folks that were involved were there. It was interesting to see because it was started by a group of folks that said, "Hey, we need a skate park." They created a nonprofit raised the funds, got the land, and put in the skate park. So it's there. You want to check it out. It's behind the sheriff's department. So if you're out there in the skate park, make sure you're behaving, because it's right behind the sheriff's department. They've got um, fencing up. There's also some stands in there that were donated by the local realtor group, so you can, if you're a parent, you can watch your kid while they're out there skateboarding. All right, let's talk about what's going on in the paper. The paper came out yesterday. Asheebo, what are your big stories, and what do you got in the paper that, hey, folks, you need to pick up the paper and read it?
Yeah, so we are kind of talked about the girls' flag. We had a story from the first girls' flag football games in there. We have, of course, Jordan Matthews' football game against Providence Grove. And we have our fall sports roundup, our football roundup in there. But I think probably the most interesting story is Jordan Matthews giving their John Phillips court a makeover. And they completed that project last week. So they had a reception before the football game on Friday, just kind of availing that, letting Coach John Phillips take the first shot on there, take the picture in front of his refresh name on the court. And it really looks nice. And I saw it in action on NFHS, watching a little bit of Jordan Matthews' volleyball game. And talking to Terrence Newby, he was there. PJ Lohman, former basketball coach and player, came back as well to see it. I mean, and the two current basketball coaches, Ronnie Wiley and Lamont Piggy, they really like the modern look that it has now. It's a brighter court. Of course, you have lighter colors in between the three-point arcs, and then within the three-point arcs, you have that darker wood. And on the sidelines and on the baselines, you have the blue. You have the blue Jordan Matthews going across the home sideline as well at the bottom of the court. It's a lighter feel to it. Makes the gym brighter, and it looks really nice. Like I said, when the volleyball game was going on NFHS, it just popped really nice on the camera. And take it from John Phillips himself. He said it's the best it's ever looked since he's been here since 1984. So I'm really excited for Jordan Matthews student athletes, the volleyball players, boys volleyball players, girls and boys basketball. They get a new court this year. And of course, excited for the community to see some improvements being made, not just with the court, but just around the entire athletic facilities at the school, because we've also saw upgrades to the scoreboards in the gym. Of course, the track was redone about 2 years ago. New equipment in the weight room last year, and of course the pads in the gym as well. So a lot of improvements going on with the athletic facility. And you can read more about the cost and what it went into the design of the court and the story in the paper.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you were talking with Barry West, the athletic director over there, he's really proud of what's going on at the school from an athletic program. And that's one of his goals, is to help make improvements in the facilities there. Because, and folks have heard me say this numerous times, to someone who's shot high school sports for over 20 years, I find that folks that participate in extracurricular activities have a tendency to do better in school. I mean, Terrence Newby definitely did better in school because he participated in sports. And he said Coach Phillips was a tough teacher as well. And they also have a tendency to do better in life. So congratulations to JM. Congratulations to Barry West as to all the stuff they're doing there. You got anything else that's in the paper before we talk about everybody's favorite, which is Asheebo's Athlete of the Week?
Nope, that's all we got.
All right, let's go into your Athlete of the Week. Who is your Athlete of the Week this week?
Yeah, so Athlete of the Week, we're going to Chatham Central and giving it to Addison Golston from the volleyball team down in Bear Creek. She's just been on a tear this season, really been the leader there for Chatham Central and what they've been able to accomplish this season, especially in conference play. Last week, she helped extend the Bears' win streak to 4 with a combined 35 kills in those 2 games. She had 20 kills in the 3-1 win over Western Harnett on September 17th. And then she had 15 kills in a 3-2 win over North Stokes the following day. Like we said, she's leading the team in kills. At the time we wrote this on Sunday, she had 156. I'm sure it's more now. And she leads the team in digs with 189. And she's had 2 games this season with over 20 kills. So, yeah, she's been stepping up a lot for Chatham Central this year. She's only a sophomore. And, Gene, I think you've seen her play already. this year as well. A lot of power on her swings, and she's going to be a great player for the next 2 years.
Yeah, congratulations to Addison. And I think all of you that have been following us and reading in the paper, Asheebo's Athlete of the Week, they deserve it. And so, Addison, we're happy for you. And next week we'll have another Athlete of the Week. So you definitely need to pick up the paper. Addison, folks, I flashed a picture that's in there in the story, quick write-up that Asheebo included in that. All right. Is there anything else? No, I think that's it. So we need to talk about where you and I are going to be over the next several days. Both of you and I are going to be at the JM game tonight. I'm hoping it doesn't rain too hard. And then how about next week? I think you and I have talked about where you and I might be next week.
Yeah, next week or Monday, Seaford is going to be hosting Union Pines in a big volleyball game. It's going to be a great game with two great teams. And so we'll get some action there and cover that. And then on Wednesday next week on October 1st, Northwood will be hosting Jordan Matthews in boys soccer. Like we said earlier, it's a big conference game. It's going to be interesting to see how both teams can compete against each other, how both teams measure up, especially with JM going into conference play now and seeing if they can really kick it into gear like they usually do around this time of the year. So we'll see.
All right, folks. So look for Asheebo on the sidelines today at the game at JM. He may be wearing a raincoat. I'll probably be wearing a raincoat. I will be wearing a raincoat if it's raining, and I got to make sure I have my rain gear for the camera because I don't mind getting soaked that much, but camera equipment, you don't want to do that. And Monday, we will be back at C4 to see how their volleyball team is going. So, folks, a lot of good stuff going on. Yeah, we had a hiccup in football this past weekend, but hopefully coming after this weekend, we'll get back into stride and win some games. Hey, as everybody, thanks for watching. We should be back to our regular Thursday schedule next week. Appreciate you being here on Friday. The other thing I'll ask is I've noticed we've had over a dozen people stopping at our Facebook page. If you don't mind, share it with someone else. We got the amazing thing is we had over 4,000 views this last week, which last year I think we topped off at about 1,500. So folks are finding this live stream and appreciate doing this because you find out news about all the Chatham County schools right here. And Asheebo is doing a great job at the Chatham News and Record. So make sure you pick up a paper. It's worth it just to read Asheebo's stuff in print. All right, folks, we will see you next Thursday. Anything else before we sign off, Asheebo?
Nope, that's all I got. Yep. Thank y'all once again for watching and continuing to tune in week by week. And